In the world, there are many types of safety that are needed to survive, such as self-defense or the act of not getting scammed. However, all the good ones are taken up, so I didn't want to copy anyone. So here I am making a video on online safety. I know it sounds boring, but bear with me. So I've made up to 5 categories, and we'll go through one by one in orderly fashion. The categories we'll cover will be apps, communities, games, online purchases, and other users. Anyways, without wasting any more of your time, I'll just dive right in. The first category we enter is the app category, where we talk about the apps of the internet. Games aren't included, but we'll get there shortly. Now, the following apps I've chosen that might threaten your safety mentally most are Discord, Snapchat, TikTok, and, of course, YouTube. However, out of all of them, Discord is one of the apps where you talk to other people. The thing about Discord is that most of it is built upon adults that have no life. So they waste it away on this app. However, this app piques the curiosity of children that aren't yet in their teen years and have not made an understanding of the dangers of the internet. Discord is dangerous because this app holds the most people of pedophilic interest. What I'm saying here is it's basically full of pedophiles, and they want to groom minors. However, not every user of Discord is a pedophile. Some people can actually be mindful human beings. Now, with that being said, let's just move on to category 2. In the internet, there are communities of certain topics, and since there are, you know that there has to be horrible ones to come across. Now, if you ask me, I'd say one of the worst ones would have to be, I can't believe I'm doing this, the Hazman Hotel community. Why? Because most internet pedophiles have an interest in it. Now, before you ask if everyone in this community is bad, the answer is no. Not everyone who watches this show is considered bad. They're just very odd. There are other communities of horrible status, however, this one sparks most problems. So without further ado, let's move on to category 3, which is more important than this stupid-ass category. At long last, we enter the category of games. Do you ever have a long day of work or education, and you go home, relax, and just play a game on your phone, or your other devices? If so, then good for you. However, there is a dark side to this. There are games out there where you play with other people, and this could easily get out of hand depending on the game. There are 2 games on the internet that are taking the world of VR by storm. Why did I choose 2 VR games? Because they cause the most drama. And one of them can hurt you physically, and the other can, wait, give me a minute, hurt you mentally. Meet the games that represent VR, Gorilla Tag, and VR Chat. Let's talk about Gorilla Tag. Gorilla Tag is a pretty interesting game at first, but then, of course, here comes the heat. This game is full of little kids, and if you are a student at my current school, you know how stubborn kids can get. Not only are you dealing with kids, but you are also dealing with the ability to break your arm. Let me further ado explain. To play Gorilla Tag, you need to move your arms in a certain way to accelerate in speed. And just the wrong placement of your home to play could damage your arms by hitting dressers, shelves, and, of course, walls. So when you play this game, find a spacious area in order to play. Now, since this game is taking all the glory of this category, you might as well move on to talking about VR Chat. VR Chat is a game for people who are 13 and over, and before you ask, yes, this game is heavily flooded with adults who like to progress in fake sexual activities, formerly known as ERP, erotic roleplay. And not only is this game full of degenerates, it's also full of unsuspecting pedophiles. This game is basically a VR Discord if it was 10 times worse. But this game can be a beautiful experience when you explore other worlds, find beautiful landscapes, and not to mention that there is a zombie survival world that is amazing to play when listening to the right music.
You're about to subscribe. I send this message to the people of Earth. I am exterminating the rodents.
Anyways, without further ado, let's move on to category 4. Online purchases are taking over the world of shopping and can sometimes prove to be more efficient compared to most ways of shopping or just purchases in general. With that being said, the only app you would want to trust would most likely be an online purchasing app known as Amazon. And it's one of the only apps to trust with purchases. Other apps such as, Wish.com or Temu are basically the same, except way cheaper, and Wish has a higher chance of scamming you in some ways. Also, don't forget to remember that most websites usually have the www to prove that they are a website made by an organization, while other websites might have the letters www and maybe a different letter, which proves that this website might scam you if you are not careful. Anyways, let's move on to category 5. In this category, we'll be discussing other users. The other users are the other people in said app or game that you may encounter while casually just browsing. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is this dangerous? Well, there's a pretty good reason. Remember the other categories discussing pedophilic interest? Yeah, that's why. Because other users actually pretend to be kids and look for other kids to be friends with them. And if the kid falls for this is the act of getting groomed. What is grooming, you may ask? Well, grooming is the act of trying to connect emotionally with minors. So if you understand that, then good for you. However, if you don't, then just Google it for a better understanding. Because, honestly, I am not going to be telling you this stuff. Anyways, that was an explanation of online safety. I hope you now have a better understanding of why you should be safe on the internet. And yes, I was going to originally do self-defense. However, I couldn't because of a certain individual whose name can't be disclosed on the internet. Anyways, if you found this helpful, leave a like, maybe subscribe. I don't know, just show you care. And I'll see you next time.